good, YouTube? We're back with another video. Today, we continue our story on Empress as she travels across the galaxy trying to protect her children from her tyrant emperor husband. Okay, so from where we left off last week, or 2 days ago, the Empress and her crew were stranded on a planet without a visible skyline, and Ship needs the skyline to teleport. Ship being their teleportation robot. We continue with the princess saying a little prayer to the god they worship, and Dane trying to strike up a conversation with her because apparently they don't talk much, so he was trying to fix that. Sitting down next to her, he tried to strike up a conversation about a god she's praying to, and she's like, "Do you believe?" But he's like, "Nah, I just believe in anything that works," because right now they needed help. They were stranded on a planet they couldn't get off from. But at that moment, Little Man called their attention to the little genius prince who was fixing up a spaceship all by himself. This guy has Stark level intelligence, because how do you fix a spaceship by yourself? Everyone gathered because this was surprising. No one was able to do that, even the adults. He looked at them and told them, "This ship will just take us to space, so Ship can teleport us somewhere." Everyone was impressed because obviously what he lacked in physical prowess, he made up more for in intelligence. Actually, Dane was surprised and happy, wanting to lend a hand to the little prince so he wouldn't have to do everything by himself. But before he could do that, before he could help the prince fix up the spaceship, at that exact moment, he was shot by a laser beam, knocking him out to the floor. Not killing him, but knocking him out. That was the first sign of trouble. The Empress, in pure shock and horror, called out to him, but she fell down next, dropping her son. She was out cold. But before her son could drop on the floor, the princess caught him herself. Not able to see a clear line of sight to the people who are shooting, they all just decided to run away. At least some of them could escape. Little Man shouted for everyone to run away and get to the debris so they could hide themselves. But before he could shout out any more orders, he was taken out as well, including Ship, so they couldn't teleport anywhere ever again. They were out cold, leaving the princess and the two little princes running for their lives, because at that moment they couldn't tell they were just being knocked out. They thought they were dead, running scared and absolutely terrified. These three kids got blasted in the back again, the princess and the little prince. The last prince decided to hide in the debris, hoping to escape, find a way to rescue everyone all by himself, like he has done all this time. This is when we see the assailants themselves. Two aliens, worse than bounty hunters. These were slavers, aliens that kidnap you from your home and sell you for making a buck, deciding to blast the last prince and not allowing him to escape. The heat-seeking laser found its mark, knocking out the final prince. And at that moment, we see these slavers walking over to the prince, picking him up and dragging his body to the ship. Because right now, they didn't know who these people were. They just wanted to make some money off selling human, or rather other species, for the highest bidder. Terrible. At that moment, Dane was coming too, but before he could, he realized that he was surrounded by this crew of slavers. Realizing that he had to be cautious so as to not alarm anyone. From all around him, he could hear every single person calling for help. The children, the Empress, everyone needed help at that moment, but he couldn't do anything because he himself was bound. He heard her scream, standing up to help, but he was instantly shocked, causing him to pass out on the floor again. Seeing him get shocked again, shocked the Empress herself, calling his name and telling them to stop, don't take away her kids. But no, they separated them, putting the adults on one ship and the kids in the other. The queen felt terrible. She felt like she had made the wrong choice, helping her children escape. But Dane looked at her and made it clear that it wasn't her fault. He was charged with their protection, and he has failed as a bodyguard. At that moment, Little Man shouted, "Relax," because he had a trick up his sleeve no one knew. He could control the tech of this ship. But sadly enough, this model ship is very, very recent, so he couldn't control this particular ship. At that moment, Dane was irritated, asking him, "Why did I bring you along anyway?" But the queen had other ideas, because ship could see the stars, and that means ship could teleport. So she gave him the order, and ship teleported the whole spaceship in the middle of a city block. As you could tell, it was chaos instantly. Not only was the ship thrown out of proportions, allowing everyone to escape, allowing the queen to choke out one of the slavers before anyone could react. Impact from all the cars from the outside caused the ship to crash and plummet, throwing the queen off balance. The ship fell. It was going to crash, and it did. But the thing is, this ship was heavily armored, allowing everyone to still be alive. But they got a hold of Dane, and this is where we see that Dane can be lethal when he wants to be. Looking at ship, he ordered ship to teleport those pillars into this exact spot, causing the pillars to impale all the assailants but one, who he knocked out and took his gun from, blasting every single person on the ship in the head. Slavers don't get to live. Releasing his friends, he gave ship the order to teleport them out of this place and leave all garbage behind, which he did. But this new world was dangerous, because at that moment, they got to the exact spot where some sacrifices were supposed to be dropped by a barbaric race. And at that moment, they were chosen to be the sacrifice that was going to be tossed in a freaking volcano. Empress, issue 5. We pick up the story of the kids from their perspective. They were trapped in a cage, and one of the slavers were making fun of them. But at that moment, they didn't pay attention, because our little genius was building something. This is when we see their father, the emperor, looking for his kids, and he stopped by on the last planet they visited. Realizing that they are jumping from planet to planet, he realized they could be anywhere at this moment, which pissed him off. He ordered the execution of every single person on that planet. This is when we see the Empress and Dane trying to fix up a ship so they could escape from this freaky planet. We discover that in this planet, all the females have not been able to give birth, and their god told them to sacrifice someone, or else sacrifice the priest. You see that because of their arrival, the priest gets to live, and he is very happy because of it, telling everyone to drag in their spacecraft. And when they got to the volcano, he didn't waste time. Everyone thought he was going to give a big speech, but he said, "Just toss them, bro." Which they did, tossing the huge ship. But at that moment, they got the shields back on. This was a spaceship. Of course, he had shields, helping them escape from this volcano that was supposed to roast them alive. At that moment, the priest knew, Jesus Christ, I am screwed. Because his people tossed him in the volcano ASAP. Realizing that this was a sister ship, all they had to do was get the coordinates for the main ship, giving it to ship. And ship teleported them to exactly where the kids were, which was a whole ass dock for auctioning off slaves. We see the captain of the ship calling ahead to say, are they ready to sell the people she has on board, not knowing she had the kids of the king. But at that moment, our little genius's cannon was ready, and he blasted a hole in the ship, killing the guard instantly, causing an uproar. We see the princess move swiftly. This babe is lethal. I mean, what do we expect? She was trained by Dane, and she's the daughter of King, the actual king of the galaxy. She was dangerous. Nobody could stand up to her. Nobody could follow her movements. Even in the face of a pistol, she dodged those bullets, taking the babe to the floor and smacking the back of her skull. She was done, calling for her brother so that he could fly the ship away. But the captain wasn't going to let go that easily, because she knew her fate was going to be over as soon as she loses these kids. So she detonated a bomb. Kaboom. That's the end of this episode, guys. Please like and subscribe and share. God bless.